is this deal nowadays where we all want Superman to go super dark? In this case, though, I think it becomes this incredible cautionary tale. What did you think of DC's latest animated film, Injustice? Let's talk about it.
You took his wife. You took his unborn child. And his city. Why?
Welcome to Durbania. I'm Durbin, and this is my spoiler talk review for DC's animated film, Injustice. I think this movie, from a Christian perspective, is a great picture of this verse. Watch out that no poisonous root of bitterness grows up to trouble you, corrupting many. And that's what we see with Superman. That need for vengeance, that corrupting root of bitterness, it gets a stronghold in his heart, and we see how it poisons him, how it poisons his character, and it corrupts him. And we see the major consequences of that because he is Superman.
You'll throw away everything the Justice League stands for.
So what did you think of this movie? I'm gonna go ahead and give it a solid B+. My initial thoughts of this movie is it was very good and it was very entertaining. I think they did a good job with most of the characters and being able to follow them, to be able to follow their character arcs and see where they're going. And you just really see this reverse character arc for Superman. And it's probably one of the more interesting aspects of the movie because the movie really does give us that firm beginning point. And it's one of the things that I think makes these characters so interesting. So the firm beginning point is we see everything is happy. It's like a good horror film where everything is happy and joyous in the beginning. Superman wakes up listening to the city, but hears an extra heartbeat in Lois Lane, finding out that she's pregnant.
We're pregnant. Mostly you, but I helped.
And like, he's just so excited. And he's talking about how he wants, his child to go to high school in Smallville and all of these exciting plans. And one of the funny moments is here's Batman in Metropolis for some reason. Superman goes to help Batman in this little fight. And Superman's like, hey, Bruce, I got some news. And I love Batman's reaction because he goes, Lois is pregnant. Congratulations. He's like, well, how did you know? He goes, well, you're grinning like an idiot and your hands are trembling. They didn't even tremble when you fought Doomsday. And so, like, another moment of Batman, the world's greatest detective. So little character moments like that are great. But what they serve to do is, and I like it because it's only an hour and 18 minutes long. So right from the get-go, it starts in that happy place and it pulls us right into where Superman is. But it also gives us that sense of doom. So here we are in this happy moment and we know exactly where it's going and it gives this sense of doom. Now, the thing is, I couldn't believe just how tragic it was that made Superman fall. The fact that Lois and Jimmy were on site and Jimmy Olsen gets killed, you're freaking kidding me, right? You killed the best friend of Superman. Well, then they kidnap Lois. I guess they cut open her chest. They put the trigger to the nuke on her heart. Apparently the Joker's now a heart surgeon or something.
You really need reasons from me?
Superman finds her, but there's fear toxin in the room that is laced with kryptonite, so Superman gets under the influence of Scarecrow's fear toxin, and when he sees Lois, he sees his greatest fear, which is Doomsday, and he grabs Doomsday to fly him up into space and to kill him, which kills Lois, his unborn child, and the moment her heart stops, it triggers a nuke that the Joker stole that destroyed all of Metropolis. That was his joke, that he was able to manipulate and pull the wool over Superman's eyes. But it was done well enough that I'm watching this, I'm going, yeah, I get it. I get why Superman is ticked. Do not go to that cell. And it's just funny because the Green Lantern is there to try to stop Superman from getting to the Arkham where the Joker is right now. But Green Lantern showing up and saying, you're not in your right mind right now, Superman. You've been through a lot. You need to process this. You cannot go to Arkham and confront the Joker right now. Those are moments like the Holy Spirit, where the Holy Spirit knows we're triggered. And we're heading towards certain doom. We're heading towards certain trouble. And the Holy Spirit can sometimes either in our hearts raise the red flag, send people on our path at just the right time. But we have those moments where it's like, we know we shouldn't be heading in this direction, but we want to. We want to yield to our flesh. We want to yield to those feelings and we want to go do it. And that's exactly what Superman did.
See, madness, as you know, is like gravity. All it takes is a little push.
And then Superman shows up and punches right through the Joker's chest, killing him right then and there on the spot. And it's tragic because this isn't Superman. Superman is all about finding another way. Superman is always about rising above that stuff and setting the better example. He's Superman. Okay? He can't stoop down to that level because the consequences are dire.
How are you?
Angry.
That is your right.
No. You're better than that. You have to be, or the consequences could be fatal.
Now that scene is really interesting for a lot of reasons because it sets a lot of things in motion. Because really what it's bringing up is this mentality of, in DC Comics and Marvel Comics, all the comics where they don't kill the bad guy, they capture them, they put him in prison, the bad guy escapes, they have another battle, they put him in prison, and thus the cycle keeps repeating. And so it brings up the conversation of, is it really right to continue that? But you really see that conversation begin to rise up here. You see Wonder Woman on that side of, yeah, let's just put an end to all of this badness right here, right now. Let's quit locking him up. And then you see Damian Wayne, like he's got that exact same issue going. He's happy the Joker is dead. And we see he's more team Superman because it's like, let's quit trying to treat the bad guys and let's just get rid of the bad guys and stop their poison from spreading. So as Superman, and that bitterness is starting to affect him and poison him, it's like that standard that he held high, that standard that people looked up to has now fallen, and it's like justifying going darker. It's justifying that lack of mercy as now Superman is losing that ability for mercy. But then you have Batman, and Batman is asking the difficult thing of Superman, perhaps even the unfair thing of Superman.
You're better than that. You have to be, or the consequences could be fatal.
And that's what Jesus asks, the same thing. And whenever you stand praying, if you have anything against anyone, forgive him, so that your Father in heaven will also forgive your wrongdoing. Now that might sound unfair, forgiving the wrongdoings that are committed against us, but God does forgive our wrongdoings, and he forgives them unconditionally, and he asks us to forgive others. And I think what this shows, and what this scene begins to depict, is how holding on to that vengeance, making vengeance ours, and trying to go after it, there's no satisfying that vengeance. All it does is it draws us in deeper, and that's what we see with Superman. He got his vengeance. He killed the Joker, but it's not enough.
You killed a man, Clark.
Not a man. A monster.
We can't decide who dies.
One death.
It always starts with one.
That's not the end. That's only the beginning. And that's what we see throughout this film as it takes Superman and it drags him down deeper and deeper. And it's very interesting to see that divide in the Justice League. Those that are Team Superman and those that are Team Batman. It kind of has that Captain America Civil War effect to it because it is that nuanced conversation. But one of the things that I found really interesting is Plastic Man, which is a hero I know nothing about, but I actually kind of liked him in this one, where he basically says, hey, how do you guys decide what is good? How do you guys decide what is bad? And how do you decide to punish what is bad? And because they're talking about putting away the bad guys permanently, but Plastic Man brings up that point that he had a criminal background, and he had a second chance and a third chance, but he got himself back on the right path, and now he's a hero and part of the Justice League. What about people like him? And all Wonder Woman's got us some quip, well, obviously the punishment will match the crime. So it's very interesting diving into the Justice League and seeing how Superman, who is this banner for truth and justice, and when he drops that banner and when that bitterness is beginning to poison him, it's interesting how it begins to affect the rest of the Justice League, especially since Superman actually has the power to do what he says he's going to do. And so it's really sad to see him at the UN and state his name as Clark Kent. What's even more tragic is how he says he's going to go out and just put an end to the bad guys. And everybody stands up and applauds.
So this is how liberty dies. With thunderous applause.
I mean, in the very next montage, you see him going into these nations, sitting these leaders down, and he goes, this is the peace agreement. You will agree to it, or it will be agreed to for you. So you see that authoritarian dictator coming out of Superman. So rather than him actually ending the bad in the world and in those countries, he's becoming the bad himself. And he knows it's wrong. Because you do see, and from a Christian perspective, I see it as the Holy Spirit working on him on the inside and convicting his heart. Because there's this great scene where he's in the Fortress of Solitude with Wonder Woman, and he's questioning what he's doing. He's like, could what I'm doing be right? If I'm doing it out of this motive where it's like, I just want to smash everything. Like, he's realizing how angry he is. He realizes the grief that he's in. So he has these moments where he's able to look and see his mental state, his heart state, and where he's at. and yet he's still enforcing his will upon the world. And I think it's those moments where he can see he's taking vengeance into his own hands. He got the Joker, Joker's gone, but now like he's seeing everybody else as the Joker. But Wonder Woman is like, no, if you believe in this path, you have to be strong and you have to keep going. But you can see that conviction that he knows this path is wrong. So we just see Superman being brought in deeper and deeper. He goes to Gotham, he goes into Arkham, and he decides we're not going to treat these bad guys anymore, and they're going to use Cyborg to teleport them to a prison that is so deep under the ocean where there is absolutely no escape and there is no treatment. They are just now separate from the world and can hurt nobody, and it's really, really sad to see. And this scene is actually kind of tragic. One thing that's cool is the fight scene here, where you see Superman, Batman, and the League take on these famous Gotham Batman villains. And I'm glad it has good fight scenes. You would hope that an animated movie based off a video game where it's all about the fighting would have some really good fight scenes. So I feel like these fight scenes were really good and they were really entertaining. But then they have these power-packed moments. Like, you have this relationship between Dick Grayson, Nightwing, and Damian Wayne, who is Robin. So you do have this brotherly kind of relationship, and Damian is a bit more rebellious. And you do see the scene where he throws his baton and Superman catches it. But really, it's like he always expects that Dick Grayson is going to block it. And then we get to this scene where they're all fighting.
You're not Robin, so shut up!
And so we've had enough of this tragedy already. And now we have Damian Wayne struggling with all of his own issues, and he accidentally killed Dick Grayson. And when Batman walks out of the room and he says, I thought it was possible to redeem you, and now I know I'm wrong, that hurts. Because nobody is beyond redemption, but that's Batman speaking from pain. And what that shows is none of us is exempt from that, and all of us need to guard our hearts. And Damian goes back to his grandfather, Ra's al Ghul, bad guy, back to the League of Assassins, just to try to find his place in the world and to deal with this burden. And maybe in some ways he feels like he deserves to be there because he deserves to be punished for hurting Dick Grayson. Now, this to me is really weird, where Dick goes into the afterlife and he becomes Dead Man. I think it's just weird to me because I know nothing about Dead Man. I've seen him in one animated Constantine movie. He wasn't my favorite character, and it was very weird how he became Dead Man to me. But whatever, I guess it works, and I guess it fits, and the way they used the story a little bit later worked, and I thought, okay, that's kind of cool, and it helps with the imagery of things. And what's really cool about the imagery is, whereas Superman is showing us how vengeance pulls him in deeper and deeper, I feel like through Dick Grayson as Dead Man, we see how forgiveness is truly the path to freedom, because Damian Wayne eventually turns on his grandfather, Ra's al Ghul, and starts fighting him, and that's when Dick Grayson shows up as the spirit, and he goes into Damian's mind to help him fight Ra's al Ghul. So he kind of acts like the Holy Spirit.
Can you forgive me?
Already have.
And not only forgives him, but helps him win the fight, because you have Ra's al Ghul who's goading Damian. He's saying, why aren't you taking the death blow? Your father has made you weak. He's doing that to goad him to make a mistake out of that anger and to give into anger and to give into vengeance, whereas Dick Grayson is saying, don't do that. You need to pull back from that because he's luring you into his trap. And when Damian obeys Dick Grayson, that's when Damian has victory over his grandfather. And so we see how forgiveness and listening to the Holy Spirit and guarding our hearts, even when we're feeling that emotion, even when we're being goaded, it's amazing how that brings us to the path of freedom. But then as this movie progresses, we really see how much Superman is falling, because you have Batman and some of the League who go into the fortress.
In the Fortress of Solitude, there's a red sun cannon.
Because it has the red rays of the red sun that could incapacitate Superman, so they're trying to break into the fortress and take care of that, to which Superman arrives. Trouble ensues, and in the midst of this trouble, you have the Green Arrow. He takes out a kryptonite arrow, goes, don't make me do this, and he shoots it at Clark. You know what makes that even worse? Number one, is Jonathan Kent. Number two, it's his sole surviving parent. And number three, he's already accidentally sort of flown Lois Lane into space, which killed her, which triggered a bomb, which blew up all of Metropolis. And now he's holding Jonathan as he's dying. Now, this scene is very interesting, because earlier, Superman is, called into a meeting by Ra's al Ghul. Hey, let's team up together. And Superman says, you're a villain, and that's pretty clear to me, and I'm not going to cross that line. And Ra's al Ghul is like the devil. He's patient. He goes, nope, time and circumstance will provide us our end. And so during this whole fortress thing, Superman gets angry, he kills the Green Arrow. You know, you don't get a ton of Green Arrow, but I feel like I got enough that I really liked his character, and it really broke my heart to see Superman take him out that quick and that fast and that easily. It was just really sad to see.
One death.
It always starts with one.
The more lines he's crossing, the easier it is to cross other lines. So here's Jonathan dying in his arms. So you have Ra's al Ghul, the enemy, saying, I had your back, so team up with me. And then you have Jonathan, who's more acting like the Holy Spirit, and he's saying, son, forgive them. Because again, forgiveness is the path to freedom. And this is one of the things that I really liked about this movie, because it opens so bright and so happy. It really shows us how far this Superman has fallen. Like later when you have that Joker rave that's going on, and it's really just like those teenage kids, they're dressed like the Joker, and they're just having a rave in his name. Superman comes in completely and utterly shocked by the scene that is unfolding before him because of all these lines that he's been crossing. And now, here's these teenagers wearing the Joker's face, getting tattooed with the Joker's face, and all he sees is red, and he just burns it all down. And I think what makes it more intense is the sound design in this scene, because you really hear the screams. It shows you all of those lines that Superman has crossed. It shows you by him taking vengeance into his own hands and making vengeance his, holding on to that bitterness. You're now seeing the full extent of that poison. It's very interesting as you get to the end, because he's teamed up with Ra's al Ghul. Ra's al Ghul has created this super android called Amazo. Come on, I think we could come up with better names than Amazo by this point. And what Superman says is, let's test it in a small town, and he puts it in Smallville. It's another symptom of how far he's fallen. And so this battle between Superman and Amazo is interesting only because of him playing chess with Mr. Terrific earlier.
Smoking. People keep smoking even though they know it's killing them. Jail every smoker and imprison anyone who speeds. Finally, we kill anyone who doesn't recycle.
As they're playing chess, it's really interesting because Mr. Terrific keeps checking Superman until checkmate, but he's checking Superman as he's having this conversation about how do you decide what's right and wrong? How do you decide how far you go? Well, then here in Smallville, this dude throws some trash away, it bounces off the rim of the trash can, breaking the laws of pollution, and Amazo goes to kill this dude. Superman goes, try to defend and stop Amazo, but he's been betrayed by Ra's al Ghul. So Superman fights this robot, the Justice League comes in and saves Superman's life, and then Superman turns on the Justice League after Amazo's defeated, like, all right, you guys are under arrest and you guys are terrorists. And it's like, and it even gets Wonder Woman, right? Wonder Woman, who's been on Team Superman all this time. She wrote off him killing the Joker teenagers as just a moment of madness. But then right here, she really sees the full effect of the poison that is spreading throughout him, because here he's turning on his friends who even in this moment actually put their differences with him aside, and they came to save him. They showed him mercy and they showed him grace, and he repays that mercy and grace with, all right, you're traitors and I'm ticked off at you. Probably going back to the whole Fortress of Solitude, the death of Jonathan Kent, all of that stuff. He's holding that over them now. You see, it's not enough to kill the Joker.
It always starts with one.
Because once that hook is in, it doesn't let go. It doesn't let go the moment you get what you want. It pulls you in deeper. And that's what we're seeing with this. And finally, Wonder Woman sees that. And so we have this really cool scene where Mr. Terrific opens the door to the multiverse. Superman from Earth 9 comes to fight. I loved it because I was just so happy to see my favorite superhero, the red underwear on the outside. He's a good guy. I was just happy to see a good Superman. Plus, the fight was pretty impressive. But the best part is after, our Superman defeats Earth 9 Superman, because the Superman we're watching has decided he doesn't hold back anymore. The other Superman holds back because he knows that he needs to hold back because he's so powerful. This Superman is like, no, I'm gonna rule the world, so I'm not holding back anymore.
I've felt what it was like to let go, but it felt good. That feeling worries me.
But what changes him is seeing Lois Lane from another Earth come through the portal. She looked like she's about 9 months pregnant. And hearing his baby's heartbeat again recalls us back to the beginning of the movie and that time of innocence. And I feel like it's a moment where the blinders are ripped off and he's seen the full extent of the poison in his heart. You see, during all of this time, I could say God hasn't let Superman go. Because through Jonathan Kent, through Batman, through Green Lantern, through these different characters, God has been reaching out, offering him freedom and the way out. Sadly, it took till this moment. and he falls to his knees saying he deserves death, and Batman says, "You're not getting that. We're going to put you in a Red Sun prison until we need you." That sucks, but that is the consequences of his actions and what he has done. But he just had that moment where he was reminded of that innocence. And so taking this whole story together, I think what it shows us is the importance of guarding our hearts above all else. So it might seem difficult and it might seem unfair when Jesus wants us to forgive even our enemies. But forgiveness is actually the true path to freedom, where we're not taking in that poisonous root of bitterness, where it's actually poisoning and corrupting us. Forgiveness is that path to freedom. And I feel like this movie really shows us that. The way it ended was pretty powerful, but I kind of want more, because I feel like there's a lot left open. I mean, come on, Superman was a world dictator by this point, right? And now he's surrendered and he's being taken to prison. So there's a power vacuum. Who's gonna try to fill that power vacuum? How does the world react to Earth's greatest hero betraying them? How does the world react now that it's kind of united under Superman and he's gone? What happens to the world? What happens to characters like Wonder Woman, who were Team Superman all the way through until they finally recognized the extent of the poison? How does that affect them and their ideology? There's a lot of things I'd be very curious to get into, and I hope there's a part 2. That'd be great if there's a part 2. I know there's more than one game with lots of fighting, so I would love some part of part 2 here. Plus, we have the whole multiverse thing brought up. I mean, it gets brought up once in the middle, and here we get it at the end. There's got to be more to it than just that. So there's more stuff that I want to see, and more I want to see this story deliver on. But for what it is, I think it's a great cautionary tale about the importance of guarding our heart. So what did you think of this movie? What message do you see in it? Let's talk about that in the comments. While you're there, hit the subscribe button to become a Durbanian. Hit that bell by the subscribe button so you're notified for my next movie review, ranking video, theological analysis, or anything else I do here. I'm Durbin. Thanks for checking out Durbania.